In the age of social media, any football fan can type up something, post it on Twitter, share it to millions, and all of a sudden some player becomes overrated. I am one of those idiots, and today I'm going to be completing my most overrated Premier League 11. Just for the record, me saying a player is overrated doesn't mean I think they're bad, I just think people think they're better than what they actually are. If you enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like. If this video gets 20 likes, I'm going to do my most underrated Premier League 11, and if you are new to the channel, I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe. Regular viewers of the channel will not be surprised with my choice in goals, but I'm going to go with Ederson. I know what you're thinking, the goalkeeper for arguably the best team on the planet. I will not deny his distribution is world class, fantastic. He's what you call a modern goalkeeper. He's good on the ball, but I think he's a bit reckless. He comes off his line way too easily. He's given away several penalties over the years for Man City. For some reason, there's a debate between him and Alisson. I don't understand it because I've never looked at an Ederson save and thought, yeah, Alisson couldn't save that, because Ederson's shot stopping, it's alright, it's nothing special. He's carried by that Man City defence. That's why he's so much golden gloves, not because he's a world class goalkeeper. He's nowhere near that, and for me is incredibly overrated. Right back, I'm going to go with Kyle Walker. Man City fans are probably hating me right now. I promise you, Kyle Walker is the last player from Man City that I have picked, and I only really picked him because I couldn't think of anyone else. He's alright, Kyle Walker. I never really thought he should be in the best right back in the Premier League conversation, and for some reason he wasn't that, so that's why I think he is a little bit overrated. Though to be fair, nowadays he rarely even plays for Man City. Please do let me know in the comments an overrated right back, because I really couldn't think of anyone. Trent was an option, but I feel like his hype is at an all-time low, and he's really more of a midfielder nowadays. Now on to the centre-backs. My first centre-back, I'm going with Joel Matip. Last season he had a good spell of about 3 months. That's it. In his entire Liverpool career, that's the highlight, because the rest of the time he was injured. Last year you heard comparisons of Matip being top 5 defenders in the Premier League. He had 3 good months ever in the history of his Liverpool career, and the only reason he was so good is because he made little runs which excited the Liverpool fans, and that made them think he was performing absolutely amazing. Realistically, he was just a centre-back that partnered Virgil van Dijk. There was a time when Joe Gomez was brilliant because he was partnering Van Dijk. Konate was more impressive than Matip last season, and Konate was a 20-year-old lad who had just arrived at the club. Matip is a decent injury-prone defender who popped up with a few goals, that's it. Partnering Joel Matip will be Dan Burn. I've never really got the hype about him. The only reason there's such a nice little story about him is because he's a local Newcastle lad. He grew up supporting the club. He's cost him games this season. His touch is worse than a trampoline. The only reason there's so much hype around him is because of that narrative, because he's a local lad. People have given him credit for overtaking Matt Targett as the left back spot. Realistically, Matt Targett's been poor. He's had injuries, and Dan Burn isn't good enough to start over Botman or Schär. Decent defender, nothing special, just purely overrated. Trent gets criticised so much by the media, but where is it for Andy Robertson, who has been just as bad, if not worse this season, but he seems to get little criticism from the media. Going forward, he's been abysmal, provided little assists this season, and defensively, this supposed tough man, he gets taken off the ball a lot. His positioning has been absolutely awful, but all the criticism will go towards Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's absolutely criminal how he's still in the conversation for best left back in the Premier League after this disaster class of a season. My defensive midfielder, I'm going at Moises Caicedo, and I don't really like this pick because I do think he is a good player, but there wasn't really much defensive midfielders, and I think the hype he is getting is a little bit overrated because I don't think he's as good as people do say he is. He's apparently valued at around £80 million. He's not even Brighton's best midfielder. I think Alexis McAllister is better. If he's an £80 million player, he should definitely be one of the best defensive midfielders in the league. He's nowhere near a Casemiro or a Rodri. He's a very good midfielder, and I do think he has the ability to go far, but I don't think he will ever be on that world-class stage. Next midfielder, I'm going with Joe Linton. I think the reason people give him so much hype as a midfielder is because of how bad he was as a striker. All of a sudden he went from terrible to decent, and now all of a sudden people think he's amazing. I guarantee you, by the summer of 2024, Joe Linton will not be starting for Newcastle. They would have bought a better midfielder because really it's not hard. He's nothing special. In the modern market, Newcastle could easily go out and find a better player that would improve their squad for 30, 40, maybe 50 million. He's part of this Brazilian double with Bruno Guimaraes. If Bruno Guimaraes doesn't play for Newcastle, you notice it. If Joe Linton doesn't, you don't. It's not 2021 anymore. We have to accept N'Golo Kante is overrated. He's been injured most of this season, but when he played last season, he was absolutely terrible. He got the nickname Can't Pass. He can't run around as much as he used to. It looks like he's not going to get a new contract at Chelsea because they've signed younger players who can do the running around, who can stay fit, and that's what Kante can't do anymore. People have to move on. He's not the same player anymore. Time has caught up with him. Maybe it's a little bit too far, but you could say he's a smiling merchant. For my right winger, I was going to go Anthony, but I thought that was a little bit harsh considering it's his first season in English football, so you have to give him time. So instead I'm playing Kai Havertz out of position because that lad is absolutely pony. I think it's embarrassing. If you play him striker, he's that bad. Most Chelsea players have been bad this season, but especially Kai Havertz. They could probably be 5th or 6th if Kai Havertz could shoot because he's missed so many big chances. I know he's not an actual striker, so it's not really his fault, but for some reason people still think he has potential and is not a Chelsea flop. Fair play to him. He scored a goal in the Champions League final. Other than that, what has he actually done for Chelsea? Absolutely nothing. Lukaku is deemed the flop despite the fact he scored in limited minutes last season, and he's also currently scoring goals goal for Inter Milan, who are in a Champions League semi-final, but Kai Havertz gets to stick around at Chelsea and miss open goals week in, week out. Go back to July, August, when the hype was around Gabriel Jesus to Arsenal. He was going to be contending for the Golden Boot, apparently. He scored a few goals in his opening few games in the Premier League, and then he went absolutely missing. People seem to forget that, though. Then he got injured and Arsenal suddenly improved. You look back on Arsenal's last 3 games, they've drawn them all, they've dropped points in the title race. Jesus has had good chances in all of those games. Now, to be fair, in those 3 games, Jesus did score 2 goals, but you look at that draw versus Southampton, bottom of the league at home, and he had an expected goals of 1.14 and scored 0 against the worst team in the league. The likes of Martinelli, Saka, and Nketiah, they've all stepped up this season with the goals. While I do understand Gabriel Jesus has been injured, while he has been on the pitch, he's not been clinical enough, and for me, this big money striker has not worked out as well as Arsenal would have hoped for, and I think he is overrated. And the final player of the lot, I'm going with Jadon Sancho. I understand he's had injuries, personal problems, but that guy has been absolutely terrible. You compare it to the player that was at Dortmund, they look like completely different players. Jadon Sancho doesn't look bothered to play for Manchester United. He doesn't do the tracking back, and this once promising star just looks like he'll never work out at Man United. That performance against Sevilla in the Europa League really showed that. He was absolutely terrible. You have to ask yourself, how has he declined so much in the space of 2 years? It's absolutely mental, but it just doesn't look like under Erik ten Hag, Jadon Sancho will work out at Man United. So that was my most overrated Premier League 11. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments, and leave me your most overrated Premier League 11 in the comments. I'm expecting a lot of battling in the comments, because obviously all our opinions are different. But of course, my opinions are the right ones. Thank you all so much for watching the video. Make sure to leave a like on the video. 20 likes and we will do most underrated Premier League 11. Subscribe if you are new. So close to 5,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.